This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 135. Fame, money, or both? What's going to make you happy? We're going to show you how to figure that out and how to get it. That's coming up.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
The results are in, Laurel.
Results for what?
The DNA test.
Your DNA test?
Samba's DNA test.
Because I was wondering if you were half Albert Einstein and half some really sexy model, but it's the dog. All right.
And you are not the mother. No, different kind of DNA test.
Ah.
A few weeks ago, the dental hygienist, of all people, told me that you can swab your dog's cheeks and figure out what your dog is made out of. We've got a mountain cur. At least that's what we thought it was before the DNA test.
That's what they guessed it was at the shelter I got him at.
And we figured him out 8 steps back, so we know his great-grandparents.
And what were they?
German Shepherds, Blue Tick Hounds.
There was a Gordon Setter on there.
Gordon Setter, and that was it. Everything else was a mix, thus the name Cur.
Well, he kind of has the coloring of some of those dogs. And once you figured out he was part German Shepherd, you started speaking to him in German, thinking that was why he didn't listen to us. So you're like, 9. It didn't work.
Our dog is a tricolor dog, and really probably more than tricolor. He's like 50 shades of.
He is tricolored.
So tricolor, and that's apparently very common with mixtures of dogs. I guess the recessive gene, the dominant recessive gene.
The dominant recessive
Don't
gene.
listen to us.
You should post a picture of him in the show notes.
Show notes.
That people can see what a German Shepherd mixed with a blue tick mixed with a setter, Gordon Setter, looks like.
That'll be up at redpodcast.com/135. RED stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. This is the podcast for authors, speakers, and coaches. We'll help you expand your influence, reach more people with your message, and make money doing the work that you love. We show you how to build a successful personality-based business and live life on your terms. Question for you, Laurel.
Bring it on.
Have you ever played that game? It's called Would You Rather?
No.
It's kind
Is
of
it from your decade or my decade?
It's kind of a gross out game. It's like, would you rather do this or do this? And neither one of the choices is usually good.
Ah.
I'm going to play that game with you, but these are some great choices. Would you rather have $1 million in cash, but no recognition for what you do? Recognition for what you want to do, but no money? Or $1 million and recognition, but you don't get to pick what the recognition is for?
I take the money, man.
$1 million in cash, no recognition for what you do.
Yeah. You can't take vacation on recognition. You can't pay the bills on recognition.
That's what I've always said, too. I think that $1 million, if you're getting paid in some way, that is recognition.
I think it's nice, but as an introvert, I don't really need a ton of recognition. It's nice to know that people care about what you're doing, as long as you can continue to do what you do, but take the money, invest it, and make more money.
Here's the thing about money, though. Is once you get to a certain level, and they've done studies on this, about $60,000 is the level right now in the United States. Once you get past $60,000, you're really not going to be that much happier. Once you know the bills are paid, mortgage is good, you got a car in the driveway, what else do you need?
Recognition.
Exactly.
Why do you feel like people need recognition for what they're doing? If you're going along, you're doing what you love to do, you're making that widget, or you're speaking, or you're doing whatever, why do you think people want to be noticed and recognized for doing what they already love to do?
Entrepreneurship, for the most part, from my experience, is a very lonely game. It's a solo game. You've got to write if you're a writer. You've got to plan if you're a speaker. This is why I call the blog that I have 23hours.com. It's the 23 hours that it takes to get to that 1 hour that you have on stage. Yeah, that 1 hour is great, but there's 23 other hours in the day, and sometimes that's the loneliest time in the world.
So why do you feel like people want the recognition for that 23 hours? Or is it
Because
just for
you
the
have
1
no
hour?
feedback. It's like us sitting in the red room here. Small little studio, basically talking to each other. We don't know if people are listening to this. You don't know if the message is getting out. You don't know if people are reading your books. You don't know if people are going to like what you're writing.
But if you love doing it, why does it matter? If you love writing and you're an author, or we love doing this podcast because we like speaking, if you like being a coach, you like coaching people, why do you need recognition to be able to do what you already love to do?
I think it's like that philosophical question. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it still make a sound? You record a podcast and nobody listens, does the podcast even exist? I'm sure you get your stuff out of it, but you're not reaching the full potential of the podcast. Same with your book, same with a blog. You're throwing it out there into the internets.
Don't you think there's a difference, though, between an author who writes a book, puts it out there, maybe it sells 1 million copies, but they don't get any feedback or recognition or fame through it, but they're still reaching people and spreading their message. So what's the difference between actually spreading your message and having your podcast heard by people, having your speeches heard by people, having your book read by people, and then getting actually recognized and getting that feedback?
Well, that's a totally different thing. You're still getting recognized, but it's not you that's getting the recognition. I'll give you a story. You know, a songwriter wrote one of the biggest hits that you've ever heard. I don't want to say what it is because he likes to be anonymous, and he'll go into stores and he'll hear his song playing. Do you like this song? Oh, man, I love this song. He's getting recognized even though they don't know that he wrote it. And if he were to tell you that he wrote it, you wouldn't believe him because it's so weird. I mean, think about that. You're selling clothes at a Gap or something.
I've done that.
One of your many jobs. You're selling clothes at the Gap. A song comes on the radio, and you happen to be selling jeans to the guy who wrote it. Would you even believe that? It's a song you've heard all the time, and just doesn't happen like that, does it?
We're in Nashville, Tennessee. I'd believe that.
Oh, so you're a believer.
I'm a believer. I see like Keith Urban at Starbucks. I'm like, yeah, I know that guy.
What do you do when that happens? Do you give him recognition? Or do you act like you don't know him?
No, but everyone else around him is whispering.
Yeah.
So everyone else is intrigued, and
I've seen him out a lot too, and nobody really mentions it. It's like shh, don't act weird. Don't act weird, but everybody's acting weird.
I know, and I only recognize him because he's standing right beside Nicole Kidman, who's a very tall, blondish redhead, and sticks out while Keith Urban is quite short.
I think the big idea is this. Fame isn't what you think that it is. You're hanging out in Starbucks and Keith and Nicole are still in there. I saw Miley Cyrus in there once. Everybody thinks they know what her life is like, and she was sitting all alone, texting in the middle of a coffee shop. Money isn't what you think that it is. These guys have a lot of money. They're in the same coffee shop that we are. And fame doesn't always mean that you're wealthy. A lot of people are well known, and I think when you're well known, you have an opportunity to take advantage of that and make money. But if you don't have the knowledge to do that, which is the purpose of Red Podcast, one of the purposes, doesn't mean you're going to make money automatically.
And you might be famous for something that you could never make money on, like that woman who was texting and fell into a fountain. She's internet famous, but she's not going to be able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, you're the subject of a meme. Well known, but not making the money you should.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how to gain clarity. Whether you want fame, whether you want money, whether you want both, this is how to go for that. What's the first step? What would you do?
I would decide what I wanted. Which of those that I wanted, what is important to me as I go forward as a business owner? Do I want just the money? Am I looking for the fame, the recognition, and the money that hopefully would come with that, or both? That's what I would do, is get clear on what you want.
You have to decide on what you want. I agree. And how would you do that, though? You mentioned it. Fame isn't going to get you a vacation. You can't deposit fame in the bank.
Mm-mm.
So as far as your survival, I think it gives you a tool you can use to survive. But money, as far as survival, much more important.
Also, if you can figure out how to get famous, which I think a lot of people are trying to figure that one out, if you can figure that out, fame comes and goes. It's something that's up and down, and you're in style one moment, you're out of style the next moment. But if you can figure out how to make money and how to do that consistently by adding value, those are skills in my mind that's going to last a whole lot longer and serve you a lot better.
I think that's a great point. Fame, other people are in charge of that. Whether or not you're famous, all up to them. Whether or not you have money, though, that's a skill you can put into place, and it doesn't really matter about other people. I mean, it kind of does because they're the ones giving you the money, but totally different than the flimsiness of fame. What you want, it's not necessarily fame, it's not necessarily money, but there are some common things that most humans want. Let's break these down. Elements to get clear on, including if you don't want these, that's still wanting something. Family, relationships, income, business and career, health, spirituality, and personal growth. Most people have a goal for each one of those.
I think the bottom line here is that when you look at either fame or money, which we started out talking about, is that you want to be happy. You think one of those will bring you happiness or will bring you longevity in your business or success or something like that. But it's those elements that you just listed, David, which when those are in balance, in whatever way balance looks like for you, that's when the happiness really comes. And a lot of people think, oh, if I just had more money, if I just had more recognition, if I just had these other things, but all of those things are out of balance. So you really have to bring all of those into focus in your life. I used to do this exercise with my health coaching clients is I gave them a wheel, and in all the different spokes in the wheel had basically the things that you just listed, David, and plus a couple more with family, relationships, income, all of those. And people would put a mark on the spoke of the wheel, either close to the center, if that was really out of balance in their life, or close to the outside of the circle, if that was more in balance in their life and more where they wanted it. And then they would connect the dots and see if their wheel would actually roll. And of course, usually it was very lopsided. It looked like they had a flat tire going on.
You work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Do you still see that from a business standpoint?
I do see it from a business standpoint. I think with your health, it comes out a little more because when things are out of balance in your life, your health and your body are really the first things to suffer. But I can definitely tell. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was expressing his desire to grow his business and quit his day job. But when he was talking, a lot of these other things were out of balance in his life. And if I just sat down with him and gave him the skills to grow his business, to create a great blog and a landing page and ebook and this and that, his wheel in this case still wouldn't be able to roll because things weren't in balance in his life. And he needed to bring those things into balance to get what he wanted. So you do have to get clear on what it is that you want, but also pulling all of these other things into balance to be able to get there.
I think we get caught up in fame, in money, which is why we started this episode talking about those two things, thinking that those are going to help us get these other things going. But the reality is, I'm glad you hit on this, something like family, relationships, those are things that you can start right now. You don't need fame. You don't need money to do that. Just two people relating to each other. Same for your health. I mean, it helps if you've got $50 for a gym membership, maybe. Get a massage every once in a while.
But you could run around the block.
You can walk around the block. You can start eating better. We make so many excuses which delay what it is that we want because we say we don't have enough money. We don't have enough fame. We don't have the health that we need. We'll worry about this stuff later. And the point of this episode is that you get clear on what you want, you go after it, and a lot of these things you could start right now. You could instantly get these things going.
I think of them as success habits. If I'm going through a week where I'm struggling to get work done or I'm procrastinating, I don't necessarily look at okay, where is my business at this week? I look at where is my life at, because I am the fuel that's fueling my business forward and taking it forward. And usually I find out, okay, well, I haven't been outside in a couple days. I haven't been hiking. I haven't done yoga. I haven't stretched. I haven't been eating right. There are other things that are out of balance that affect my business. So I go to those first and I say, are those in order? Okay, yes or no, and go from there. But those are the things, those little success habits that you have throughout the day are the things that are going to add up to be success for you personally and in your business as well.
When you started your company, it's been about 10 years at this point, did you want a larger company than you feel comfortable having right now?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that a little bit. That happened to me as well. As I watch the trajectory of a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs, it happens. You think you want something. You think that everything is going to fall into place when it happens. But then you realize that right here, right now is where you need to be. Mm-hmm. You don't need to get it bigger, not to be more happy anyway.
I was listening to a coaching training the other day, and the guy being interviewed was saying, if you don't have what you want right now, there's some reason that you just don't want it. Because if you really wanted it, you would already have it. Do you agree with that, David?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you say, I want to be full-time with my business, or I want to be making $250,000 a year, or I want to lose 50 pounds, or whatever your goal is. If you really wanted that, you would already have it. He helps people figure out why they don't actually want it. What's holding them back? What's that block that's preventing them from doing it? In the case of a diet or losing 50 pounds, it might be that the person doesn't want to eat healthy, or that's a struggle for them, or maybe they have some issue with working out and sweating or something like that. But figure out what that block is, overcome that so you can achieve what you want. But usually you have to get unblocked in all these different areas that you mentioned, David, so that you can go forward fully with your life and your business and discover that happiness that you're hoping fame or money will bring you, but it's probably not the case.
That's the reason to get clear. You mentioned health. There's a part of somebody who wants to lose weight that I truly believe wants to lose weight, but there's also that part of them that doesn't want it. They like junk food. They like sitting around. They're comfortable there. That's the dilemma within all of us. There's a part of us that wants more money, for example, but the part of us that likes our lifestyle just the way that it is. That's the reason to get clear. I'm going to read these elements one more time. Family, relationships, income, business and career, health, spirituality, and personal growth. Decide what you want in each one of those categories. And as you're deciding, step 2 to this process, write it down. Be specific on exactly what you want. And it doesn't have to be a 10-year plan, 15 years, 25 years. I like to think just a year in advance. I look at a year in advance, and I've got my long-term, which is 3 to 5 years.
What do you do after you write it down and you get specific about what you want in all areas of your life?
This is the same thing I do every day. I work from the list. I've got a list of the little things that I need to do because you're going to have a bigger goal. You're going to break that goal down into little bitty pieces. For example, let's say that you need an overhaul of your website. Well, what does that mean exactly? One of the things may be you need a new logo for it. Write that down. That's a little element that's going to help you get the bigger element in place. And all of us have things like that. You want a new car? What are you going to have to do to get that new car? You want a new house? What are you going to have to do to get that new house? You want 10,000 more clients? What are you going to have to do to get those new clients? Maybe it's call 5 new people a day. Go prospect. Put that on your list. Check it off. Before you know it, you've got that 1,000 new clients, 10,000 new clients, whatever your goal is.
Do you put things on your list that don't relate to your business? We talked about relationships and health and spirituality. Do you put any of that stuff on your list, or do you have a separate list? When you have goals in these other areas of your life that aren't business related, which are kind of easier to break down, how do you get them done?
Streaks. We have a list. We've got a to-do list on our refrigerator. Same piece of paper for you and me, and I can see what you're doing, and you can see what I'm doing. And we've got goals, some of them personal, some of them business. And every day when we achieve those goals, check the mark.
If it was a game, who would be winning?
You.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you're very, very clear. I've got a lot of things on there, and I like to do them every day. So because of that, I'm skipping days. I'm not as focused. You're like a laser beam. You've got maybe 5 where I've got, let's say, 10. You know exactly what it is that you want, and you're going after it. And in a lot of ways, that's a better deal.
Well, I'm focused in the fact that being able to check something off or tally something is a huge motivation for me. And I don't think that's necessarily the way other people work. I was reading an article, and the woman was describing herself as a triple type A personality, and the way her closet is color-coded and her sheets are all neat and tucked in and the bed is made up. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. So I think this really works for triple type A's to tally and check things off.
It does feel good to make progress, though. We see this in Weight Watchers. If you've ever tried to lose weight and done that system, you know how that is, to track daily goals, and then every week you're making progress with rewards along the way. Alcoholics Anonymous, the famous chips that they give you, any of the anonymous programs where you have a chip and you have that streak where you take it from 1 day to 1 week to 2 weeks to 1 month and continue on that. I think that feels good for anybody, even if you're not the triple type A like you are. You want to see some kind of progress. And that's what having a list allows you to do. I think it's very good for humans to have something and be able to make a mark next to it, saying, I've accomplished this. Because a lot of times in entrepreneurship, we talk about it being the loneliest business that there is. You're not getting that feedback and that recognition. Sometimes you don't know where you are because there's so much to do. We talked about it on here before. When I was a UPS guy, I loved being able to deliver a van full of packages. It started out full at the beginning of the day. I emptied it out by the end of the day. I knew that I was making progress on the job. And I don't have that in entrepreneurship, except for the little things that are on the list.
It's those little things that add up to the big things, like the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It's those little things. There's no magic bullet. There's no voodoo marketing technique. I mean, there's nothing that major that you can do typically that is going to get you some major result. It's doing these little habits every single day that add up to get you what you want, whether it's a great relationship, whether it's losing weight, or whether it's getting that fame or money. You have to do the little things every day that add up to it.
To recap this, the first thing you have to do is to decide on what you want, the elements that I like to get clear on: family, relationships, income, business and career, health, spirituality, personal growth. Pick and choose those that you think are going to work for you. Get clear on them, and you do that by writing them down, being very specific. Figure out when you want your goal to happen. We do this every year. We've got our retreat that we take every year. Get clear for the year, and we reevaluate at the beginning of the next year. But we think in 3 to 5 year increments, that's long term for us. It's long enough to where we can actually get something done, but short enough to where we can feel we're making progress on it. And in the name of progress, we work from a list, taking those big goals, breaking them down into smaller chunks that we can actually see being accomplished and see our progression on. Laurel, if you could do one thing out of everything we've talked about on this episode to start moving forward, what would that be? Just one action step.
I think the best thing to do right now would be to write out your goals for what you want going forward and make a list and get clear. Because again, what we've been saying, if you don't know what you want, you're never going to be able to get there. And there's always some debate. Some people swear by goals. Some people don't do goals at all. But I think goals are really important. It helps you get clear. It helps you make a plan. And it helps you go after that plan as opposed to just floating around in space and hoping things come to you and leaving your life up to chance.
You have questions or comments, reach out to us. redpodcast.com is where to find us. You'll find the past episodes, be able to contact Laurel and me directly, and also send episode recommendations. If you've got something that you want us to cover, let us know. Laurel, we've got an app.
Yay for the app.
I don't think I've ever mentioned it before. We've
No,
got
you haven't.
an app on the Google Play Store for Android. It's on the Amazon App Store. So if you've got an Android, go to one of those two. If you've got an iPhone, get into iTunes. Search for Real Entrepreneur Development. You'll see the app there. These apps are free and the easiest way to listen to Red Podcasts from your mobile device. And while you're on iTunes, subscribe. That will make sure you never miss an episode as well. Thanks for listening. Reach out to us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.
These apps are free and the easiest way to listen to Red Podcasts from your mobile device. You didn't say anything.